Good morning, everybody, from a bright, but not that you can see it on here, but there's a glow of sunshine across the pitch. But it's chilly here today. It's probably the first morning stroke game that I've stood here wishing I had gloves, which Paddy very wisely has packed and I have not. So it's a lesson for us all. We're obviously here today, early kickoff, 12:30. So if that's caught you out, surprise. And we'll be bringing you the team news in the next 2 minutes or so. Paddy, we've got as we look out across the pitch, there's a few Norwich City players out and about there, and I guess the key one, Anis Ben Slimani, back in the Norwich City matchday squad, it seems, and we'll find out in the next minute or so whether he's going to be handed his first Norwich City start.
Yeah, I don't know what we can't really read anything into his attire. I mean, he's got shorts on, but then he's not alone. I think most of them have, haven't they? Yeah. So, like the sort of the more casual travel wear that they arrive in. So, probably best not to try and make too many conclusions from his attire, but I think we just said on the Insta Live over on the Pink and Insta channel, both of the opinion, maybe him and Schwartz, who he's actually stood next to over there as we look down on the pitch, would be my only change, subject to no sort of late curveballs injury fitness wise from Watford, because so much of that performance was excellent. So why would you think of too much? But I just think, as we said on the Insta, Slimani, as he displayed at Coventry in a smallish cameo, but nevertheless, this type of environment today away from home, it is different to Carrow Road, and we might need a little bit of streetwise now in the middle of the park. So I'd personally be looking to get him straight back in, because what he did do in that cameo, I felt, was transformed that performance at Coventry alongside Nunez and McLean. Can I just say one footnote? Tony Roberts, the new goalkeeper coach, he's not had the best of starts to his new period of employment. He's come out with Declan Rudd to obviously get the cones and what have you ready for the arrival of the keepers for their warm-up, and they've gone to the wrong end of the ground. And hastily, a Derby official had to come onto the pitch, and he'd already got to the point where he laid out all his cones. Didn't look best pleased from his body language. So now he's over the other end of the there he is. He's in the other half of the pitch. Let's hope that's the only false misstep from Norwich collectively today, Connor.
Yes, let's hope so. I've got the team for you. That looks unchanged to me. Gunn in goal, Fisher, Duffy, Cordoba and Doyle as the back four. Nunez, McLean and Shorthow as the midfield three, with Sienat and Saints behind Josh Sargent. So just to read that again, unchanged from last week's win over Watford. Gunn in goal, Fisher, Duffy, Cordoba and Doyle the back four. Nunez, McLean and Shorthow as the midfield three. Sienat, Saints and Sargent. The subs: Long, Stacey, Hanley, Hills, Crisene, Slimani, Forson, Forsyth and Gordon. Obviously, Norwich's bench probably a little bit lighter than perhaps it would have been. No Liam Gibbs and no Onel Hernandez. Both of those ruled out until December with hamstring injuries. But unchanged, Paddy. I mean, I know we kind of spoke about the midfield briefly there, but given the performance last week and given a lot of what they did, minus probably those 2 periods of real passiveness after what was the second goal and after the Watford equaliser in the first half, it was a really impressive performance. So particularly the back four, which he has changed about a lot, but also maybe the midfield as well. Probably no surprise that he's gone as is, in an attempt to probably try and build up some momentum and consistency.
I mean, it tells you he was very happy with what he saw in the main, allowing for those areas we've touched on, when he just thought they almost handed the initiative to Watford. But yeah, time will tell. He's paid to make these decisions, isn't he? I just not sure. Schwartau, I'll go back to the Swansea game, and okay, he wasn't technically in the same area of the pitch we wouldn't expect. He was more on the right of the attacking three that day, and he wasn't alone in that performance, but looked a little bit off it in that environment. And we know what Derby will be all about. They'll be trying to get after Norwich when they come out of that maybe deeper block, and they'll be aggressive and physical. He didn't really, for my mind, look like he enjoyed that element of the game. A bit like Forson, to be honest, in the early evidence. But he was good last week. And when you spoke to him yesterday, I thought it was quite interesting how he broke down what he liked from Schwartau, getting almost in between the lines and being that second runner to allow Sargent to come deep and create a bit of space in behind. And maybe he's looking at on the balance. He wants that element in his team performance today. He might think that's crucial rather than maybe in the muck and nettles element. But, he might surprise. He certainly doesn't lack for physicality, Schwartau. He's a big unit for an 18-year-old. He's probably still growing. So, and maybe it's just a case of the more championship games he plays, the more acclimatised, the more he understands that part of the midfield craft in England, particularly in the second tier in England. And we start to see a bit more of that added to his game. There's no doubt he's got a lot of good technical attributes. And, yeah, I personally not unhappy to see the same 11. I just think maybe also with Slimani, he's missed these 2-3 weeks. do you want to push him if, as Giannis was talking about when he was out, that he needs to build himself up a little bit. He's not played a huge amount of football in the last season or so. Maybe there's a bit of, to use Giannis's words, sort of low-risk approach with Slimani. You don't want to really put him in today, breaks down again, and then he's out for a longer period of time. So, yeah, you can kind of see the sort of where the thought process is leading us to that unchanged 11, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's probably a tough message for Shorthour as well if you drop him out for someone who's been out for 3 weeks. And I guess from Torup's perspective, and he spoke about this a little bit before Watford in terms of physicality in particular, which I think is probably what we're expecting from a Paul Warne Derby team this afternoon. And he spoke about the importance actually of controlling the ball and having that dominance. And if you can do that, then you probably negate the need to have physical presences in there. So, like you said, that wasn't the case at Coventry, and they had to bring Slimani off the bench. And that obviously isn't a bad tactic to have alongside Forson as well. In terms of the back four, Paddy, unchanged. I think given probably the structures that were created last week and the inverted fullbacks and the way that Norwich City built up, probably not much of a shock to see him persist with that, and it probably feels like the way that he wants to go forward now with that back line.
Yeah, I mean, while you understand, why he's very keen again to reiterate, Stacey and Kraseni and how well they took that decision, and they came in, to be fair, both of them towards the end of that game and had a key impact in the final goal, but it just felt more at ease, more maybe aligned with what Giannis is trying to do here in terms of his deeper build-up structure. He talks about it often about defenders who are comfortable under pressure with the ball in situations where they've got players closing them down deep in their own final third. Cordoba being the obvious example of that. Doyle, we know, can do that. Duffy less so, but he looks quite comfortable in this unit so far, and certainly since Oxford. Yeah, absolutely. And he's playing within what he knows he can do. What he can't do, he'll leave to others. And obviously the transformative element last week was Fisher. That inverted role, releasing Doyle on the left-hand side to get further forward and show what he's all about in possession. And it just felt almost, almost an epiphany moment really for me, because Stacey isn't that type of fullback that Fisher is. And it's clear that under a Johannes off Torup defensive structure, he wants players who are able to deliver that rather than maybe where Stacey's strengths are a more straight line running, attacking wise, less about that element. About
a bit more of a blunt instrument, isn't
exactly,
it,
yeah.
And that's a compliment.
And that's how it's felt. It's kind of not exactly pieces, square pegs in round holes, but it hasn't really felt comfortable watching it until I thought Watford, when Giannis himself said that first 20-25 minutes is as good as he's seen in terms of what he wants to see from his team. And that would underline that he felt that defensive structure with those players who, again, get a chance today, offered him that platform almost to go on and set up that performance. So, again, big day for Callum Fisher now. He's got his new contract in his back pocket in the week and everything's going his way. But
this is almost a tougher one, isn't it? The second one, the one after you've had that week.
And if he can back up what he did at Carrow Road, then you do begin to start to see maybe a change in the guard. It's a bit premature at the minute because he is still a young man. He said himself in those contractual interviews, he's only, four starts he'd had up to this point last week.
League starts, yeah.
Such a small body of, senior experience. And so we don't really want to put too much pressure on him, but that's the level he can get to last week. If he can maintain that and back it up again this week, then you start to see a scenario where he becomes Norwich's first choice right back.
Yeah, agreed. I don't know if we've got the Derby 11. I think we have. There we go. It's almost like we planned these things. That's Zella Strom in goal, Nyambe, Nelson, Cashin and Forsyth as the back four. Goodman, who looks awfully like Carlton Morris. Google that. It's quite uncanny, actually. In fact, he's in front of the programme, so Paddy's going to hold that up in a minute. Osborne, Ebu Adams, formerly of Norwich City, was on their books as a youngster. And then Caden Jackson, ex-Ipswich Town player, and Mendes Lang on either flanks, and Jerry Yates up top. But yeah, just let's just put this program out, and you can see if we take the team off. I mean that is Carlton Morris, isn't it? I think you'd be asking his dad some questions if
separated at birth.
Yeah, separated at birth, absolutely. And that's the way that the Derby line up this afternoon as the team sheets arrive. Thank you very much. Their subs bench, by the way, I'll just read that. Josh Vickers, Kane Wilson, Sonny Bradley, James Collins, Nat Phillips, Marcus Harness. He's formerly of Ipswich as well, isn't he? Yeah. Corey Blackett-Taylor, Twande Chirwa and Dejan Brown. interesting lineup from them. And as we said, Pat, that probably leads us nicely to speak about their home record, which is
it is quite sunny.
If we were on the other side of the ground.
Yeah, it is. The shades are in the bag, but I don't need them at the minute. But thanks for asking.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, it brings us on to sort of Derby's home record, which is phenomenal. It's 9 straight wins here. They were last beaten here by Charlton in February. That was obviously a League One game. They've been promoted since then. And they've not conceded here in 7 games. And obviously that includes the 3 league games that they've had this season. They've beaten Cardiff here, Middlesbrough here, Bristol City here. So all 1-0 and very strong at set pieces as well. But they've made this place a little bit formidable, haven't they? So it's up to Norwich to try and break both of those trends, to be the first team to score and win here for some time.
Yeah, which is why, I said on the Insta that I felt that... Is that Dave Carolan looking down at us? Yeah. Sorry. This is the esteem we hold our audience in. We wasn't even going to acknowledge Dave Carolan as he walked pitch side. He's part of Paul Warren's backroom team, isn't he? Yeah. We said it, that interesting part of that presser yesterday for me was your exchange with Giannis about adversity and dealing with that, and maybe feeling they went a little bit into their shell in those periods against Watford, and struggled a little bit, came through it, obviously, and won handsomely, but there's no doubt those stats you read out there, Connor, would tell you that today they'll face adversity again. And can they come through those periods and withstand it? Might even be conceding goals plural, but can they come through that and show what they did so well against Watford? And if they do, and back up last week in that aspect, in terms of you're not going to have it all your own way, you may find periods where this crowd get on top of you and it's a bit difficult, it's a bit uncomfortable, and you get taken into sort of proverbial deep water, and you can come through that, then that really does set you up for me for a really good championship season, because you're going to get those periods pretty much every week in this league, and to be able to withstand that, and then what you're trying to do, you can impose that on the opposition, and it proved good enough as it was last week to comprehensively beat a good Watford team, then that sounds for me like a really good recipe moving forward. So that's an intriguing element for me today. I just got to find this individually and collectively. Norwich need to be at their very best today, is what I would say to Richard.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yes, indeed. Just to mention Norwich's bench, Paddy, because we know where they're at the moment. It's Fashnacht out, Ashley Barnes out, Onel Hernandez out now. There's quite a few attacking options that they've lost from their matchday squads at this moment in time. And just to run you through that Norwich bench again, it's George Long is the substitute goalkeeper, and then they've got essentially what is a whole back 4 on the bench: Stacey, Hanley, Hills, and Krizene. You're then looking at Slimani, Forsyth, Forson, and Kate Gordon as the options to affect the game from an attacking perspective. So again, we're probably back to saying Norwich's bench looks a little bit light in terms of attacking options, but that's the nature of probably where they're at in their cycle at the moment, but equally reflective probably of some of the injury problems, which is characteristically they seem to do at Norwich, appear to be building up pretty slowly. Yeah,
and it probably underlines again that segment of the presser yesterday, the Josh Sargent chap, and how important he is, and framing it through, if he wasn't available, if he had to come off, heaven forbid, there was an issue, who steps in? And the first choice would be Cernach down the middle, but for a young man making his way, and that's not technically his preferred position. I don't think that's the position he was bought to operate in. So if you're having to go him first choice, first change, as it were, that does underline the point that at the top end of the pitch, there's certain players there who are indispensable, and Josh Sargent is probably top of that queue. So, if it's about who could come in and affect it in an attacking sense today, then clearly Slimani would be one. Cade Gordon, maybe. Other than that, you're getting into Forsyth, a very, very young man. It's a lot to ask him to come in and affect it. So, it's not great timing. The Onel injury and, Fashnacht maybe to a lesser extent, but nevertheless another body, Ashley Barnes. Yeah, that does feel very Norwich. Clumps of players in similar positions of the pitch. We always seem every season to have that, whether it's centre-back. Centre-back, yeah. I was just thinking centre-back has been midfield. You could argue it's been midfield at points this season. Yeah. Centre-mid. Right now, I thought it was quite interesting actually that Torek, when speaking around those injuries, spoke about the midfield and said he felt they were a little bit light in terms of competition there as well, which sort of backs up what we're saying. Absolutely, no Gibbs now. Hello, mate. Mr. David Fox, one of my favourites here. David Fox, he can pass the ball that man. So, really, talking to centre midfielders. There's a man who could do a job, Mr. Fox. He's on Radio Norfolk duty today. Yeah. But Yeah, less so now for me. Now Slimani's available. Yeah, okay, there's no Gibbs. Borson's still finding his way. But I think you've got enough there in the centre mid areas with Nunes, McLean, Slimani, Forsyth, but Forson and Schwartau, even allowing for no Gibbs. That doesn't feel such an issue. Go on.
Here's one that I've just thought of in my head. Jack Stacey out wide on the right. Could you see a circumstance where that works?
Good shout, Connor. Good shout.
Offers a bit more width, doesn't it?
I wouldn't be averse to it. You mean in terms of the right-hand side of the three?
Yeah.
No. Well, I mean, that is his strongest suit. It'd be interesting. I don't know if we've ever spoken to him. Did he start further forward?
Yeah, he was a winger, I think. Yeah.
There you go, then. Yeah. There you go. So, if needs must, not a bad shout, is it? He certainly knows how to get into the final third and affect the play, and he delivers a good ball as well. So, yeah, I think that could be a very good potential, if they needed to, changing it up option, yeah.
How do you see this game? I thought before we get there, I suppose we've got to touch on Paul Warne, haven't we? And his allegiance. I remember a game against Rotherham. It might have been the first one because he's come up against Norwich 5 times, all of them as Rotherham boss. He won the first one in 2017 and has lost every one since. So it felt like in that first game, what he was really good at was sort of getting an extra % out of his Rotherham team. Maybe he hasn't quite been able to achieve that since, but it was interesting. Johannes Hoftorp didn't really feel that would come into play today.
No, I mean, Paul himself spoke at Thursday's his presser. It's more around him. It's his family. It's his friends. It's a certain tone of text message you'll receive if the result goes against him today, as opposed to the other way. But he also said in that I think he used the word diluted. Yeah, we know how much of a fan of Norwich he is, how much it is a part of his life and his family's life, But, you're 30 years as a professional. You've come up against Norwich quite a few times. It's not a new experience for him. He'll be desperate for Derby to keep their run going and try and establish themselves in the top half of the Championship this season. So, yeah, I think he can park that. I don't think that'll have. I don't think it'll bleed.
Or anything like that.
No, well, he might under his breath. Yeah, maybe, yeah. I'm intrigued at what the away end, of which is quite a large away end building up today. Yeah. If they give him a bit of jip, like Warney give us a wave or things like that, maybe. I don't know whether he'll respond, but I don't see. I mean, divided loyalties, there'll be none of that, will there? He will be absolutely desperate to get one over on Norwich because he's the Derby manager and it's his livelihood, and he wants to keep Derby on a very good start and a very, very good home run. Was it? Did you say 9 unbeaten?
9 unbeaten,
9 wins
without conceding. Yep.
7 without conceding.
Yep.
Obviously that spans League One, but it tells you, he's got something going here, and I'm trying to think all the games away this season. This feels like to me could be the toughest one yet. I think just all those strands pulled together. Yeah. But the good thing is Norwich are coming off arguably, probably definitely their best performance and result of the season at Watford against Watford. So they certainly don't lack the confidence. So it really is set up for quite a tussle today. Score? Sit on the fence, 2-2.
Oh, I was going to go 2-2. I'm going to change it now. I'll go 1-1 and say it's going to be a draw. But I'm with you. I could see a 2-2 goals, and it's going to be an interesting afternoon. I think actually you spoke about a few individuals there, but I think as a collective we're probably going to learn a lot more about Norwich today. Are they actually that sort of habitual, inconsistent side that maybe we sort of fought after Swansea, or was Watford a real turning of the page, and can it be something else? So for me, what's important here today is that they retain some of that momentum heading into obviously a double header of home games this week. If they can prevent defeat, and then we're talking about 4 points from those 2 games, I think that would be a very healthy return. Obviously 6 would be lovely. So let's see what we get today. And of course it's 2,800 Norwich fans here today. A brilliant support, early kickoff as well. I know it's not a million miles away for us. I think they'd probably say it's a million miles away to Norfolk, but that's some effort, and hopefully they've got something to celebrate. Pinken.com, the place to go throughout the afternoon for all your analysis, all your reaction. I'm on the live blog as well if you want to follow updates as they happen here from Pride Park. And we will let's hope not, Dan. And we'll catch you very, very soon. Thanks for watching.